Hey everybody, this is Steve. Let me ask you a question. Who here would love to continuously improve with something that they're doing, or continuously improve the results they're getting with some project that they're working at? Good. It means we're all in the right place, and if you're in the right place, please click the like button because it tells me that I'm speaking to the right content, and it also helps other people who might be interested to see it as well. Now in today's video, I'm going to be explaining a really simple strategy for managing and driving that continuous improvement so that we can continuously improve our skills and results in any project. And I really mean in any project. And stay with me to the end because as part of this strategy, to finish it off, I'm going to show you how to use a very simple one-page stop-start board so that you can really organize this continuous development and really drive it through. Now, I've used this strategy for many years to improve my skills and results in many areas. For example, I've used it to become a better coder when I was learning how to code programs. I've used it to improve my skills in, don't laugh, Kung Fu. I've used it to improve my presentation skills, my team management skills, and indeed my coaching skills, and also my knowledge, skills and abilities in recording these videos. I've also seen this strategy used in really large corporations to drive continuous improvement within their organizations. So trust me, it works. But first, a confession. I don't really think of this as self-improvement. You don't need improving. As a person, you're amazing as you are. There is nothing lacking in you. When I talk about self-improvement, I'm really talking about improving our skills and results. And what I'm doing there is I'm separating the value and worth of the human being from the skills they know how to do and the results they're getting with those skills. And I think that's really important because when we buy into the idea of self-improvement, we're also buying into the idea that we are in this time some way inadequate, lacking for something. And I don't think that's a good presupposition. We're not lacking for anything. We're wonderful as we are. Let's separate who we are from the skills and the results that we're getting. And it's this that we're working on. Now, before we jump to the stop-start board, which comes at the end of this, I think it's really important that we recap the 4 golden rules of progress. Golden rule number 1 is to know what good looks like. So if it's a skill that you're developing, is there a good model to go by? Somebody who's already mastered these skills that you can look at because they are what good looks like. Or if it's a procedure or a way of working, do you have a full set of notes about what good looks like for performing that procedure? Do you have examples to work by? Do you have a model illustrated? Have some way of knowing what good looks like. The second golden rule of progress is to start small, not too small, but small enough that you can manage what you're doing. Most skills and projects are overwhelming to someone who's never done them before, to the beginner. Think about driving. Think about how overwhelming that was when you first started it. Think about project management. Think about, I don't know if you're a hypnotherapist, think about when you were learning hypnotherapy. It probably did seem overwhelming when you first started it. So don't try and start big. Don't try and be the master straight away. Pick off something you can do. It's something that should be a stretch for you, but doable. There's no point biting off something that's so small that it's easy because you won't progress that way. There's equally no point in biting off so much more that you can chew that you will never be able to make any progress with it. The 4th golden rule of progress is to build up in stages. So however much you've currently bitten off of the whole thing, as soon as you start to find that it's not that much of a stretch for you to integrate all that, add something to it, bite off a bit more and work at integrating that. In other words, go again to something that's a stretch but doable. and the more doable it becomes, stretch again, bite off more, add to what you're doing, integrate it. The fourth golden rule of progress is to get a feedback loop going. Know how on track or off track you are. Get feedback. So if you're learning from somebody, get feedback from them. If you're using a role model for what good looks like, keep noticing what they're doing that you're not doing. If you're learning a procedure or a way of working and you have notes about how that should be, refer back to it and see how much of it you're integrating successfully and which you're not. If you can make it measurable, brilliant, make it measurable. You know, when coaching sports people, somebody's got a stopwatch. If the goal is to keep improving your race time, then you're using that stopwatch to find out what's making you faster, what's not making you faster. So implement that kind of feedback loop. Now here's where we can get to the Stopstart board itself, which is the thing that I really wanted to show you. Now, a Stopstart board represents an organizing method for those four rules, for that iterative loop. See, when I was learning, for instance, to become good at doing YouTube videos, I took copious notes from the people I was learning from. Copious notes, pages of notes. But it was way too much to take on board at once about scripting, about filming, about editing, about optimizing. Too much to do at once. So what I did is I bit off slightly more than was comfortable, that was doable, as per our golden rules. And I would work with that for a period of time. And then I would get to a point where I would take a retrospective on where I was. And when I did that, I compared myself to what good looks like in the notes. And I noted about 7 mistakes. I didn't note too many mistakes, especially at the beginning. About 7 mistakes, things that I hadn't yet integrated, things that I'd forgotten to do, things that maybe I wasn't doing quite right. And I would write them down, and that would be my stop column. Stop making this mistake. And to the right-hand side of that, I would have my start column, the thing to start doing instead. And the idea is, in the next iteration of development, I would continuously work at consciously integrating those start points. Now, this is best illustrated by example. So I've produced the beginnings of a stop-start chart. It is hypothetical, it's not a real use case, but it is based on real use cases that I've seen. And so the imaginary scenario here is that you are developing your sales skills. So you'll notice that in the stop column, the first thing I've noticed is I'm still introducing my sales presentations with too many vague platitudes. Now notice that in the actual document, I've written it as if I'm speaking to myself as a third person. You, Steve, are still introducing your sales presentations with too many vague platitudes. And the remedy, the thing to start doing instead is, Steve, you need to start using a really specific, desirable outcome in your introductions. So there I have it. I have my first point of continuous improvement. And so this is the first thing that I'm going to be consciously integrating, consciously correcting in the next iteration of my development in this skill. Now, the second thing that I noted down on this Stop-Start board was, Steve, you're still caught up on what the potential client thinks of you. And the remedy, based on looking at what good looks like, is, Steve, you need to start focusing on what the potential client thinks of the product. So I've noticed the need to make a focus on me versus focus on product shift by referring to what good looks like, by referring to the role model. And so that becomes the second point to feed back into the next iteration of my development, the second point to consciously work at integrating into what I'm doing. And then the third thing that I noted in this hypothetical use case is, Steve, you're writing lists of benefits that are running on too long. And referring back to what good looks like smaller lists of more powerful promises. And I actually personally remember reading David Ogilvy saying, long lists of promises are a symptom of your promises being weak. I always remembered that. And so in this hypothetical case, I took that down. and put that the start is to make shorter lists of stronger promises. Now, there's no rule on how many things you should put on a stop-start board. I would say don't put more than 7 things on, because that might be too much additional stuff to try and integrate into what you're doing in the next iteration of your skills development. But it might only be 1 or 2. It depends on how close you are to what good looks like. And it also depends on how difficult those individual points are to integrate. If they're very difficult, don't pick too many. If they're quite easy, pick more. The key thing is that you are, with every iteration, integrating something new into what you're doing so that you're moving closer and closer to what good looks like. Now, if continuously improving your skills and results with something is something that you'd like to do more work with, or something you'd like to talk more about, I would certainly love to hear from you. You'll find my contact details in the pinned comment below this video. And also, if this is the kind of content that you're interested in, please subscribe and please hit that notifications bell too, so that you'll get notified when new content arrives.